All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is a meeting, regular city council meeting of the city of Fulshear on Tuesday, April the 19th, 2016. We'll call the meeting to order at 7:05 p.m.
Noted.
For the record, we do have a quorum. I'd like to thank all of the council members for being here. Appreciate your attendance here. If you would, let's move to item 3. We have our invocation. Dr. Charles Wisdom is here, and he is our Fulshear Police Department chaplain as well. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Mayor.
We'll have that at this time.
Would you bow with me, please, as we pray? Father God, we are grateful for the privilege of living in this area. We just feel that there are so many good things about being a part of Fulshear, Symington, Weston Lakes, and the areas around here. For your blessings, we give thanks. Father, we pause to especially ask your blessings and your guidance and your help, Father, during these tough times of all of the water. We just pray for safety for those who have been hurt in any way, Lord. We pray that the comforting presence of your Spirit will be with them to undergird them. Thank you, Father, for these men and women who serve you by serving us. Bless them, give them wisdom and guidance. And we pray that this meeting tonight will honor you and will move the wonderful city of Fulshear forward. We pray in the name of Christ our Savior. And everybody said,
Amen.
Amen.
For our Pledge of Allegiance this evening, we do have, 2 weeks ago we had the Miss Fulshear pageant, and so we recruit them to be involved with many of our events, and I'd like to just introduce those that we do have here. We have Little Miss Fulshear, Jacqueline McNulty. Raise your hand. All right. Young Miss Fulshear, Madison Parker. All right. We have Miss Fulshear, Zeta Gomez. And Mrs. Fulshear, Casey Newbill. And so let's give them a round. They were just really
And they helped plant the senior community garden.
Yes, they did. They planted the senior community garden over at the Irene Stern Center, so they know that it'll flourish. If you would, let's face the flag over here to your right, and y'all can begin us in the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Thank y'all for being here. Item 5 are citizens' comments. And no actions can be taken on those comments. Dee, do you have a record of those signed in to speak?
Yes, sir.
We have a few people that are signed up to speak. If you would, Michael Ross, our Assistant City Administrator, is here this evening. He'll be keeping the time, and he'll give you a signal for 1 minute remaining. If you would, please try to respect that. We don't want to cut you off in the middle of the talk. We do have quite a few people signed up. Our first speaker is Karen Van Holten.
Hey everybody, I'm so happy to see all of you here because that means all of you are unaffected personally by what's going on, or at least we're able to make it out, so thanks for coming. What I'm going to speak about is a little bit ironic, and you'll see why, because I would like to speak about the 3-minute citizen comments. In past meetings, we've had a long list of people who have great concerns that they want to pose to the council, and they want to be heard. And sometimes that's taking quite a bit of time. Why it's ironic is I'm an attorney, and I know other attorneys come here on behalf of people that have business with the city, and their companies, and there are other employees of people who have business with the city who are here and they're being paid. So we have city who has clients are paying their employees to be here. So I've asked that it be considered, maybe going forward, that those citizens' comments be put towards the end of the meeting, where business can be heard first, and that those citizens' comments that have to do directly with agenda items be spoken on at the agenda items. It also makes it very clear when they're speaking about the agenda item that they would like to speak about. So in my mind, it makes it a little more efficient and a little more clear. In no way do I want any citizens to be silenced as to what they have to bring to the council, but it just seems a little more efficient sometimes when there are so many agenda items like tonight and so many people here who want to hear the agenda items on council. I also want to thank Taryn Messick for her service for the past 2 years because I realize this is the last meeting that she'll be here. So thank you, Diana, for her service. And also say happy birthday to Donna Coy. Thank you very much.
William Conlon, did you want to speak now or on the agenda item?
I'll hold off till the item I.
Lori Zante, item J.
Yes, sir.
You want to wait?
Yes, sir.
Ed Krinick.
I'm going to wait till item J or and/or B.
Mike Roller.
Only if needed on my agenda item. If you approve it, I won't say anything.
Shannon Hopper? Hofer, okay.
I'll wait to the agenda item this morning.
Okay. If we get to the agenda item and I don't come back and call on you, please raise your hand and make sure that I don't forget you. We want to hear from each and every one of you. Was that all, Dee?
Yes, sir.
All right. Item 6 is our public hearings. 6A, the City Council of the City of Fulshear, Texas, has received a request from Waller County Road Improvement District Number 1, the RID, to approve a strategic partnership agreement, SPA, between the City and the RID for land consisting of all that certain land within the RID owned by Lewis Houston Associates LLC, being more particularly described in the SPA. The purpose of the public hearing is to receive input from the public on the proposed SPA. Members of the public who wish to present testimony or evidence regarding the proposed SPA will be given the opportunity to do so at this time. So at 7:13 p.m., we'll open up the public hearing for the strategic partnership for Rooms to Go. Just by way of reference, the city annexed about 1,000 acres near Igloo Road and I-10, which was Waller County Road Improvement District Number 1. That also includes the Rooms to Go facility. We have a SPA agreement with the RID, but the Rooms to Go facility was excluded from that. And so now we're having potential agreement before City Council this evening for that item. Any comments? I had to kill 1 minute, y'all. All right, we'll close the public hearing at 7:14 p.m. If you would, let's move over to item 7, the consent agenda. Items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and are generally enacted in one motion. The exception to this rule is that the council member may request one or more items to be removed from the consent agenda for a separate discussion and action. We have items A through J, including I.
Mayor, I make a motion that we discuss separately item B, D, E, F, G, and I.
I'd like to add A.
And A, okay. And A.
Wait.
And J. J.
All right, we'll just take them one at a time. Item 7A is consent and approval of Fulshear Trace Crossing / preliminary plat. That's correct.
I was called on Saturday and told that they were over bulldozing trees. And went over there and it doesn't seem like there was much care or concern about the city wanting to keep the charm that we have, which in my eyes, a lot of it is our trees. We don't have historic buildings, but we do have old mature trees. And I know there was some discussion that they were taking down brush, but I went over there and it's not brush. There were dead baby cardinals out of the tree. There were trees that were easily, they weren't monument trees, but they were certainly 30 and 40-year-old trees. And it was being done Saturday, Sunday, and even today when there were no other construction crews out in this weather. And it just seemed to me like it was an attempt to get them down before we passed a tree ordinance. And it'd be nice, is anyone here from HEB? If there were a little care and concern, I realize we want the developers here, but it'd be nice if they'd have a dialogue with us before they start doing things like that.
David, I just had a question on that item. There was a couple of different set of review comments you had.
Yes.
What was the latest, the last one that I see dated, you were recommending they needed to go back for a preliminary, revised preliminary plat?
Yes, and they've addressed all those issues, Mayor, and I would recommend approval. They turned in all the questions I had, they made all the changes, and they meet all of it.
Need ordinances that they're scraping the land.
I understand that.
It's the middle of our downtown, and everybody wants to keep the charm. That's half the charm, and they're just scraping it away. It's mud.
I agree with you. But I'm not sure that, I've never had that conversation with Grady, but I've been told by other municipal lawyers that's not something we do in the planning process. So I'm not going to try to speak for Grady on that, but
I talked to him about it a little bit. It just be, I get it. I mean, we want to work with the developers. We welcome the developers, but a little care and concern for what the citizens want to keep as our charm would be nice.
I have another question, and again, I'm going to preface it, I'm not a lawyer, that's why we have Grady and the Randall Law Firm, but is this considered a clear cutting? The way this, have you had a chance to look at it, have you talked to the mayor or anybody in the city? Are these developers clear cutting that land or just clearing some brush?
Well, I have photographs, it's not brush.
That's not a legal question. I mean, whether it's clear cutting or not, I don't know, I'm not an arborist, but until council adopts a policy, staff can't enforce a non-existent policy. So if you don't have a tree ordinance, and it's their land, it's their private property, you may not like it, but they're to do what they want to do. In a preliminary or in a platting setting, if they meet the letter of the law, if they meet the ordinance, then your duty becomes ministerial, not discretionary. And by that, I mean you have to approve it if it meets what you have in your subdivision ordinance. Now, if you want to pass a tree ordinance that would address that, then yeah, you can control it at that time. But as to the, I mean, I haven't driven the property. I wouldn't, my definition of clear cutting may be different than what Mayor Pro Tem's is, or Councilman Ridge's, Councilperson Ridge's is. I mean, I can't answer your question as to whether it's clear cutting or not. I can only answer your question as to policy.
Maybe Mr. Weindecker, since he's our engineer, is this clear cutting or not?
You know, ma'am, I don't think there's a definition anywhere in the deal of law that I know of clear cutting. You know, so I don't think there's, I think Ray's right. I don't think we've got that defined anywhere. I did go out and look at it there, and it looked like they saved some of the trees. A lot of them didn't get saved. So I would think it's not clear cutting from a practical standpoint. But I would agree that maybe we should call them, and I don't mind calling them. I've dealt with them elsewhere and explain what the city's position is.
David, yes, when I was out on Saturday, I saw they had red tape on some of the trees, and I thought, okay, we'll save some. Today, I was on my way to meet with Mr. Ross, and they were in the bulldozer, one of the trees with the red tape on it. So, and there's another one that's completely dead that has red tape on it. So it's almost like just to pacify us if they're putting red tape on it and going to do something about it.
I'll be glad to try to call them and explain to them y'all's concerns. right now, our hands are tied.
Thank you, Mr. Linedecker. Thank you, Councilman.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Rich, I am sensitive to your comments, and you came to us in here before you were on council and talked about these issues, and David has shared these, going to reach out on our behalf of the city, but from a practical standpoint, this particular plat has met all of the requirements, and it's been approved by P&Z, and so it's our ministerial duty to approve this plat. So with that, I make a motion to approve Fulshear Trace Crossing preliminary plat as revised.
Do we have a second? Motion's been made and seconded. Open it up. Any further discussion or comment?
I know we have to, legally, we have to approve it, but
One code knows.
I believe a number of developers, such as the developers in the room right now, DHK Development, I believe several others in here, take a long view. They look at Fulshear, they look at the beauty that they came to, they want to make money, and absolutely, we have a capitalist system. We have to approve it, and we want to approve it. We want economic development. But we also want to preserve what most people think is a potential charm, and the majority of us believe in that. I'm sure developers are going to follow. So that's all I'm going to say.
Anything else? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Did you vote aye or nay? Aye. Item B is consent and approval of Creek Falls and Cross Creek Ranch Section 8 preliminary plat.
Mayor, on this one, on the city engineering letter, he recommended that the plat be denied due to prescriptive easement issues, and I didn't see that this had been addressed. It's my understanding from staff that P&Z approved with only preliminary approval pending some further research, and I was wondering if Mr. Linedecker could speak on that.
Sure.
My understanding is that that issue has been resolved, and this is just a preliminary plat. That road had been there a long time. It had never been dedicated. It was there by prescriptive rights. There's a lot of the older roads here. And I think that Centerpoint took issue with that since they had power lines in there also. But I understand that they've come to an agreement with Centerpoint to pay to move those power lines and all the issues that they resolved.
Thank you, Mr. Linedecker.
Yes, ma'am.
Make a motion to approve Creek Falls at Cross Creek Ranch Section 8 preliminary plat.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further questions or comments? All those in
Mayor, do we have to go one by one to approve them, or just at the end, what do we have?
There are, almost all of them have been called out for separate, so we'll just move to the list. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item C is consent and approval of Creek Falls Drive Extension 1 preliminary plat.
I don't think anyone called this one out, so I make a motion to approve.
second.
Any further comments? All those in favor say aye. All opposed? Carries. Item D is consent and approval of CCOC LLC final plat.
They're on the Planning and Zoning Commission. They made a notation that changes are to be made prior to the council's submission. My question is, have those changes been made? What were those changes? And why was P&Z's approval conditional? If the changes have been made, should we be considering this, or does it have to go back to P&Z?
I can speak to that. We worked on a short time frame, and the planning commission felt like they needed a couple extra days to make those changes. They made all the changes I would recommend, and with that, I would recommend approval of that.
Make a motion to approve CCOC/LLC final plat.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? The motion carries. We do have a lot of people packed in here this evening. If you could, just try to keep your rustling of paper, moving things around, and any chit chat to a minimum. It's kind of difficult to hear from one side of the dais to the other, and we would most certainly appreciate your patience and understanding with that. Item E is consent and approval of Cameron Parkway Phase 3 Street Dedication Final Plat.
Mayor, the comments I had, or the questions I had on this one, E and F actually run together. Again, both of these were recommended for denial due to name changes, and I don't see the name change in these two particular items, so I was curious as to what is, it was just changing from Tamron Parkway from Tamron Coles Canyon, and then if so, that plays into item G, but let's start with E and F.
The preliminary plat, they started with the name Coles Canyon, and there were no issues. They sent a final plat in that had changed those to Tamron Park and Tamron Parkway, an intersection. And we all felt like those were too similar, they were going to cause problems for the emergency service people. So I wrote that up. When I did, they changed those back to the original name, and the conflicts have gone away, and they turned those in before the planning commission meeting actually. So all of those issues, they went back to the original name, there's no problems there, and all the issues were resolved.
Okay. So we're still calling it the Tamron Parkway then?
It's called Tamron Parkway, but the other street is not Tamron Park, it's Coles Canyon.
Gotcha, okay,
So
that's,
there's no conflict between the two.
okay,
And
thank
the
you.
only reason they did that, evidently, they wanted the Tamron name and the street address, but it was going to cause major problems for the emergency service.
Thank you, Mr. Linebacker. Mayor, I make a motion to approve item E and F.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve item E and F. Any questions? All those in favor say aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Which brings us to item G.
Item G is consent and approval of Cameron Coles Canyon and Riley's Ridge, formerly Cameron Park Drive and Riley's Ridge Street Dedication Final Plat.
Okay, again, Mr. Linebacker, I was a little concerned about this because one, our agenda item is spelled wrong, but they keep changing the names of these streets. So it's Tamron Coles Canyon, and is it Riles or Riley? Because it's in two different places. It's R-I-L-E-S, and the other one is R-I-L-E-Y-S, and then we have an R-I-L-E-Y apostrophe S.
It's Coles Canyon, there's no Tamron in front of it. The plat is called Tamron, but the street name is Coles Canyon. And I'm going from memory here, and I usually get in trouble, but I believe it's Riles, R-I-L-E-S.
Okay.
And I will certainly check on that.
Your letter references it as Riles. The cover sheet had Riley, and then
I believe Riles is correct.
and then the application had Riley's with an apostrophe S. So there were just three different variations on the city name. I mean, on the street name.
I will check on that.
Okay. What was it approved at P and Z? What street name, Riles?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor, I don't know if this is proper or not, but I'd like to amend item G and make a motion to approve Tamron Coles Canyon and Riles, R-I-L-E-S Ridge, formerly Tamron Park Drive and Riley's Ridge, street dedication final plat.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. We'll open it up for comments.
The amendment is because of the Riles from Riley.
Well, you can't tell the scrivener's note if that was, I mean, he's saying that they were approved in planning and zoning by Riles, R-I-L-E-S, and so we don't know if this was after the fact or not.
Right, there's no way to know when that was
Okay.
written.
So I put them both.
Right.
Any further questions? All those in favor say aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Item H is consent and approval of Sugar Creek Montessori Fulshear Final Plat.
I had a question on this. Has the has the issue of limited access ordinance, I know that they're connecting into a TxDOT road. The speed limit currently is 50 miles per hour right there, so I know that our ordinance has limited access. Has that issue been addressed? I know it doesn't necessarily relate to plat, that becomes their issue if we approve it as it's written.
It's still their issue. It's my understanding, the last time I checked, they had not got a deal worked out with TxDOT. They've got to get a TxDOT permit. They have it. And there may be somebody here that can speak to that, but I think it's their issue yet to be resolved.
So if we approve it, is there any impact to the city?
I don't believe there are any impacts to the city. They may have to come back
to take this and go to TxDOT and say, hey, the city
Well,
says we agree with this, and to override a TxDOT
I don't
criteria
think,
with it.
usually the TxDOT, we talk to TxDOT, and they require a letter from the city, a sponsorship letter. So they've not asked for that, and I've not done one of those, so I don't think they can.
All right.
Make a motion to approve Sugar Creek Montessori final plat.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item J. Item I, consent and approval of the Commons at Fulshear preliminary plat.
I'll make a motion to approve this one.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any hard questions?
I would like to thank the city council for approving this.
I would like to ask that staff make it a priority to get a meeting in place with regard to the alignment of Huggins Road on the reverse curve that was noted in Mr. Leinecker's report. If we could facilitate a meeting sooner rather than later, I think that would be great for this particular piece of property.
Any further questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Item J is consent and approval of master signage plan for Fulshear Run.
I asked for, just to speak about this one, because we are drafting a sign ordinance. Do we know where this falls in line with where that's at, or if we need to approve it now, or it could wait until the ordinance is done, so that we are looking unified and/or
This and what we've done so far, size-wise,
Okay.
but we're not finished.
All of those recommendations haven't been presented to us yet, so I can answer if they're in line with them all. Ramona?
Size-wise, again, we haven't finalized all these changes. Someone else will speak.
Does-
we have some people.
I don't know if, Doug, you want to speak on the Fulshear Run master signage plan?
Sure.
I know that you've been to some of the sign committee meetings.
Yes.
I think the question we have is, does it comport with the sign ordinance, but also there's a planned unit development that's established for that?
Yes.
So, could you speak to, do you meet the HUD, or do you meet a potential new sign ordinance for what you've seen?
We meet not only the existing sign ordinance, but the potential of the new sign ordinance, the criteria that I've certainly seen during any of our signage committee meetings. It all meets within that. Most of the signs that are in your packet are signs that are internal to the community, which would be, where a builder would build his, model home sign, monument, that type of thing. There's some street signs, there's some park signs, that type of thing. There are 3 elements on there that are, I guess you could call it an entryway monumentation, where they consist of stone and brick monument with the trellis. They're essentially trellises are what's being built. The name Fulshear Run will be on them, and there's also vineyards, many small vineyards that are associated with each of those lines. I can assure you, from what I've seen, nothing exceeds anything size-wise on what's been considered by the sign committee.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Kanaka?
Yep.
3 of the signs that are proposed in here are just temporary, and those would be the builder temporary construction, the temporary construction, and model home signs.
Right.
So those would come out, I think that accounts for 8 signs that would come down at some point,
That's
or 8
correct.
types of signs.
That's correct. For instance, right now, one of the builders has his model home under construction. He would like to be able to put up a temporary sign that basically says the name of the model home. Ideally, it would be great if you could go ahead and build, the stonework and all the final sign, but you just, frankly, you don't want to spend that much money on a very nice, elegant sign right now when you've got all this construction going on, because it's going to get damaged. So that's the reason for a temporary sign. And I think it has a maximum life of 9 months on it for a temporary sign. Right.
Your wayfinding signs, are any wayfinding signs, because they look to be, I don't know if that's a wood stake, a wood L, or a 7 coming out of the
Yeah, they're not
ground?
wood.
They're not wood? Okay.
Correct.
Well, my question was, are any of these wayfinding signs visible to the exterior where your monument sign, or your monument entries will be?
There's a map, council member, that would show the locations of the wayfinding signs.
I just saw one and it looks like it's at the, maybe that's the back.
Okay, the first wayfinding sign, as the motorist returns south on Bogart Lane, from FM 1093, you see the WF. For instance, on that wayfinding sign, there would be an announcement for the Fulshear Farmers Market, and basically turn right here to the Farmers Market, continue on to go to, to actually go to the community. The same thing with that second sign. So you'll see that there are a couple of signs, there's 2 signs shown on Bogart adjacent to my property, and then there are a couple more signs internal to the property.
I'd like to make the motion that we approve the master signage plan for Fulshear Road.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further questions?
One question I had still, Mr. Ross might be able to answer, and CJ's not here, but the question of the residential sign, street signs, we talked about the size of the letters, numbers, is that, we have.
If I could report on that.
I just don't want an accident on Woodruff.
I'm glad you brought it up, because I almost had the accident trying to read the name.
I had to ask myself, what was the name of the street? Couldn't see it.
It's kind of like, they don't want anyone to know where we're going, right? It was a colossal mess up, mistake. They're less than half the size of what they're supposed to be. It's a fabrication error. So the new signs have been ordered. What you see up there right now will be coming down, and the new signs will be installed.
Block numbers on those.
And the block numbers are on it, yes.
And thank you for the explanation and working with the past and the future sign ordinance.
I enjoy it. I'm thrilled to be part of the non-voting member of the committee.
PNC thoroughly scrutinized this particular signage. The first time they had it on, it did not pass, and they had to go back and redo everything and bring it back again, and it met every criteria.
The Arbor Walk looks great, so I think it's going to be an awesome development on it to come forward.
Any further questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we have one abstention, Dee, in this group. One abstention. Four ayes and one abstention. Let's move back to item 6B, our second public hearing. The City Council of the City of Fulshear has received a request from Waller County Road Improvement District Number 1, the RID, to approve a strategic partnership agreement, SPA, between the city and the RID for land consisting of all that certain land within the RID owned by Lewis Houston Associates LLC, being more particularly described in the SPA. The purpose of the public hearing is to receive input from the public on the proposed SPA. Members of the public who wish to present testimony or evidence regarding the proposed SPA will be given the opportunity to do so at this time, and we'll open up the hearing at 7:37 p.m. Anyone want to speak on the Rooms to Go strategic partnership agreement? All right, being none, we'll close the hearing at 7:39 p.m. Let's go back to item 8, our reports. Reports are presented to council for informational purposes only, and no action may be taken on any item contained in a report or a specific actionable item listed under business items. Our first report is item A, our water sewer operator. We have Jason Damel here, but before he does get started, this doesn't include all the personnel, but we had emergency management operations started up yesterday morning for all the flooding. And this group, along with others, our water sewer operator, the PD, municipal court, builder services, administration, public works, they all came together and worked together as a group, and they did a great job. So many of them are probably really tired tonight. And so I'd like to thank them, but we'd have everything from a lift station being offline. So it took everyone to work together. And with that, we'll lead into our reports. Thank you all very much.
Good evening, everybody. I start off with some of the things going on right now. Water plant 1 and Cross Creek Ranch, well number 1, had shorted to ground about 2 weeks ago, working on getting that repair done and be filed on insurance. Same as usual, just get a nice power surge from one of the lightning storms that comes through, and this time it's shorted out well number 1. Lift station 1, lift pump number 2. This is the main lift station in Cross Creek Ranch. I can see where it is in my head. I can't think of the streets exactly, but it's Cross Creek Bend Drive, figure out. It's kind of closer to the middle of the community. The lift pumps are rather large. Lift pump 2 had gone out. We're working on getting that pulled. We are working with the engineer out there and the contractor. I believe this is the same one that may have shorted out almost 2 years ago. I know the city normally asks for a 2-year warranty on all repairs. We're seeing if it's within that warranty period or not. If not, it'll be filed under the city's insurance. I know throughout the last couple of days there was some flooding throughout the area. We are going to be televising the sanitary sewers in a couple of areas that have the heavier flooding, just to make sure everything's clear in the storm sewer. In the storm sewers. But it all seemed to work, pretty well as designed. The streets do take on some of the excess and allow that to flow out slowly. Also the good stuff, 8 taps in the city of Fulshear and 66 in Cross Creek Ranch built over the last month. So working through a little bit of a backlog. Our receivables report is probably a little bit older. This is from right before the transition. This will be the last receivables report we have for you. Because after here, the city has all the information we no longer have for you. And we also don't have the customer call log because we were working on getting the transition through, getting all of our people on top of that to help out the city as best we can. No exceedances at the plants. Everything seems to be working pretty fine. A couple of outages.
Mayor, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Tony, how is the transition going to billing? Give us a quick update, just very high level on all. You weren't expected to be on the spot, just very high level.
It's not been easy, it's not been fun. The data did not come over the way we asked for it to come over. So I have duplicate accounts. I also have accounts that apparently never received a reading. So all of a sudden, now that I have a reading, I'm billing people anywhere from $500 to $4,000. I have contacted those people because I have found those accounts before and knew what was going on, so I contacted them and explained to them that this is a discrepancy and it will be fixed. We're in the process of finding those meter readings so that I get this straightened out.
Thank you very much for your update.
So we have that, and then I wanted to let you know that we did have our second employee start, and so she should be transitioning to the night shift, the leadership, starting next week.
Thank you, Tony.
Great. Thank you, Tony. Any other questions? All right. Thank you, guys. Item B is a report from our police department. Chief Seymour.
How y'all doing? For the month of March, we had 760 calls for service, which is different than the same time last year, which is 434. Offenses investigated were 42. Traffic contacts were 452. Traffic collisions were 6, which was one major accident. The following is just the part 1 crimes broken down, and then as far as administrative responses, 8 open records requests, 0 complaints. We didn't do any fingerprints in the month of March, and then we attended 4 community-oriented events for that month. And then the following is breaking out of those cultural service.
I just want to compliment you. I see you are starting to track community-oriented events on your administrative response. I think we need a lot of those, and I'm glad. Thank you for taking the charge on it.
Sure.
Any further questions? All right. Thanks, Chief. 8C is a report from our municipal clerk, Valerie. All right, you're awake today after yesterday. Good.
So for March, the collections were $26,026. From February,
February, that's a decrease of $3,812.23. From last fiscal year, that's a decrease of $20,703.93. In March, filed violations were 186. That's an increase of 37 from the month of February, but a decrease of 145 compared to last fiscal year. For dockets, resets resets and arraignments were 105. We had 16 pretrials, no jury trials, no judge trials, no preliminary hearings, 27 show cause hearings. Total docket count was 148. There were 45 warrants issued in March and 30 cleared. There were 103 cases completed, 90 cases being dismissed for various compliances, bringing a total adjudicated to 193. And then, like I mentioned last month at the beginning of March, we did warrant roundup, so I included the report this month regarding the warrant roundup. And I didn't say so last month, but thank you to the police department for helping us with that and make it beneficial to us.
All right. Any questions for Valerie? All right. Thanks, Valerie. Appreciate it. Item D is a report from our Building Services Department, and Michael Ross will give that report.
Thank you, Mayor. March of 2016, there were 65 residential plan reviews, 2 commercial plan reviews, 19 pool or minor residential plan reviews, and 748 inspections, for a total year-to-date of 221 residential plan reviews, 29 commercial plan reviews, 47 of the pool or minor residential plan reviews, and 2,336 inspections. For this month, as a comparison to 2015, is 65, the same as last year, 6 commercial plans to 20 last year to 19 this year, and 771 last year to 748 this year. Thank you.
I bet with all the rain we're getting, the high weeds and grass is probably going to go up in the next month or so. Thank you. Item 9 is regular business. 9A is presentation of proclamation recognizing Motorcycle Awareness Month for the month of May 2016. Is anyone out there from the Steel Heels Motorcycle Club? Oh, there you are. Okay.
Good evening. I'm with Steel Heels Lloyd Ladies Social Club. My name is Cool Breeze. That's my set name.
Let's come up here in the front. This club has been here, I think, at least 3 years in a row or longer. But they reach out to us every year. And what's, I don't know, not interesting is not the right word, but I know the Lions recently had a motorcycle ride for charity here to raise funds in the area. And one of the riders actually, their bike fell over, and the lady that was on the back, it snapped her foot at the ankle. So, you know, we got to make sure we promote motorcycle safety and awareness. And so I'd like to present you the proclamation and let you say anything you'd like to about this. But today's society is finding more citizens involved in motorcycling on the roads of our country. And whereas motorcyclists are roughly unprotected and much more likely to be injured or killed in a crash than any other vehicle drivers, and campaigns have helped inform riders and motorists alike on motorcycle safety issues to reduce motorcycle-related risk, injuries, and most of all, fatalities through a comprehensive approach to motorcycle safety. It's the responsibility of all who put themselves behind the wheel to become aware of motorcyclists, regarding them with the same respect as any other vehicle traveling the highways of this country. And we're urging all of our community to become aware of the inherent danger involved in operating a motorcycle and give the operator the respect on the road they deserve. I, Thomas Kirkendall, Mayor of the City of Fulshear, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2016 as Motorcycle Safety and Awareness Month in the city of Fulshear.
A few things that I'd like to point out as not just a rider, but as a vehicle driver as well. There's several points that a lot of us bikers go by. With May being Motorcycle Awareness Month, actually every day should be Motorcycle Awareness Month. So we ask you to look twice, save a life. Share the road with motorcyclists. They're not as tough as they look. Us in vehicles have bumpers. The motorcyclists, all they have are their bumps. Period. I sit up here and I look at it at the time that I had my very first and last accident as a single mother. That was the scariest thing of my life. But at the same time, it taught me to be more aware as a rider and as a vehicle driver. So we sit and we ask, where you see one, more than likely there's two, possibly 10. So look twice. Don't be afraid to sit up here, slow down, and render to them. Like I said, we're driving not just for us to enjoy, but we're also driving for you guys as well. So we thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you very much. Item B is presentation of proclamation recognizing Autism Awareness Month in April of 2016. And if you would just bear with me, I'll read a couple of points out of this. Autism Awareness Month is an opportunity for families, friends, and the community to raise public awareness about autism, the fastest growing development disability in the country. Today, more than 1.5 million individuals in the U.S. are diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. There's currently no cure for autism. However, as the understanding grows regarding autism spectrum disorders, it is known that early intervention is the key in addressing the symptoms associated with autism. Now, Hope for Three was organized to provide help and create hope by raising community awareness and providing educational and financial support to families and children diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. Autism Awareness Month raises public awareness about autism and its effects and offers hope to all who deal with the hardships of this disorder by uniting not only the autism community, but all of Fort Bend County and the citizens of the city of Fulshear. So the city of Fulshear, Texas gratefully honors not only Hope for Three, but proclaims the month of April 2016 as Autism Awareness Month. And we not only have Hope for Three out here working in the area, but Texana's moving out here and building a facility, and many of their programs will help those with the autism spectrum to cope with the issues of life that they face, not only as an individual, but also help the family members. So help keep this in your mind throughout the month of April and throughout the year. Item C is presentation of proclamation recognizing Child Abuse Prevention Month for April 2016. Whereas the future of the city, or Fulshear, lies in its children, last year there were over 65,000 confirmed victims of childhood abuse in Texas, and 688 of those cases were in Fort Bend County. All Fulshear children have the right to live in an environment free of abuse and neglect. Child abuse prevention is a community responsibility. Finding solutions depends on involvement among all Fulshear residents. And sometimes you think some of these things don't happen in an affluent community, but these types of things happen everywhere, so we have to raise our awareness. We acknowledge that we must work together as a community to increase awareness about child abuse and contribute to promote the social and emotional well-being of children and families in a safe, stable, and nurturing environment. Therefore, we do hereby proclaim April 1st through April 30th, 2016 as Child Abuse Prevention Month. So join me in recognizing that. Item D is presentation and recognition of the Fulshear Police Department by the Texas Police Chiefs Association. And we're honored this evening to have Chief Gott, who's the chief of Hedwig Village, and he's also representing the Texas Police Chiefs Association. Everyone has seen all over the Fulshear PD Facebook page the accomplishments that they've made recently. So we're thankful that Chief Gott is here tonight to join us to officially recognize the department and tell us a little bit more about their accomplishment. Chief?
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. I don't know if I face the mayor and the council or face the...
You face the audience as far as I'm concerned.
Whichever way is best for you all. Anyway, thank you all very much for having us here. It's really impressive to see this many people come out to a council meeting. I'm the chief at Hedwig Village, and we get 2, 3, 4 people. So it's good to see that this many people care about their city. Anyway, Honorable Mayor, members of council, and citizens of Fulshear, like the mayor said, my name is David Gott. I'm retired from the Houston Police Department, where I actually worked with your captain, Mike McCoy, some 30, 35 years ago. He was a heck of a patrolman back then, and I'm not surprised at all that he's done as well as he's done. I'm currently the chief of police in Hedwig Village. I'm honored this evening to be representing the Texas Police Chiefs Association recognition program. The TPCA is an association made up of over 1,100 professional law enforcement executives throughout the state who are dedicated to improving the delivery of police services. I'm here to present the Fulshear Police Department a certificate of recognition for achieving compliance with Texas law enforcement's best business practices. The Texas Best Practices Program is an accreditation program that has 166 challenging standards for Texas law enforcement. These standards address the full range of law enforcement operations such as use of force, protection of citizens' rights, vehicle pursuits, arrest, search, and seizure, property and evidence management, and obviously that's just to name a few. This program has become the new gold standard for professional law enforcement in Texas, and it's a voluntary program. No one forced the department to participate. About a year ago, Chief Seymour and the Fulshear Police Department began the process of proving its compliance with these difficult standards. And they had to prove their compliance to well-trained, independent assessors. It's not easy. The agency had to do a complete audit of all of its policies, procedures, training, and operations in order to meet these standards. The process culminated in February of this year when 2 trained assessors, police chiefs from other parts of the state, made an on-site inspection of the department. The assessors interviewed staff, they inspected the facilities and operations, they rode with officers, and they ensured compliance with each and every standard. Their report was then sent to the Recognition Committee, which is comprised of 9 serving police chiefs from across the state. They reviewed the report and they voted to award recognized status to the Fulshear Police Department, and that vote was unanimous. There are currently over 2,400 law enforcement agencies in Texas, and only 125 have achieved the recognized status. This evening, we officially recognize the Fulshear Police Department as 124th recognized agency in the state of Texas. And this assures this council, the citizens of Fulshear, that your police department is operating in a manner that reflects the current best practices of Texas law enforcement. Their certificate we present tonight is a symbol of professional excellence. However, the real value of the program is the process they went through to attain it. Your police department has proven to trained and independent assessors that they are one of the best in our state, and you should be very proud of their accomplishment. Texas Police Chiefs Association Foundation Will all that see this certificate know that the Fulshear Police Department, having fulfilled the necessary qualifications and mandatory requirements of the Texas Police Chiefs Association, Texas Law Enforcement Best Practices Recognition Program, by voluntarily proving their compliance with the Texas Law Enforcement Best Practices, Texas Police Chiefs Association Foundation Board of Directors does hereby award this certificate of recognition, effective the 16th day of February 2016.
Yeah, right.
One thing I'd like to say about the recognition program is when we started this, actually, Chief mentioned about a year ago, so if you give me this opportunity, we actually started this 2 years ago. But what we did before we put our name in the hat, we actually revamped all of our policies, and we started adopting the best practices policy through TPCA. In that, we had a policy review team that council approved, and I wish I could tell, probably Lindsay could help me with the names, but I know Bill Heady was on that, along with several other representatives, Scott Evans, Laverne Patterson. We had a multitude of people that sat on a board, Mike Murnane, that represented the citizens of Fulshear and businesses of Fulshear. And we sat and collectively together agreed on policies and procedures that were three-pronged. They protected the department, they protected the citizen, and they protected the officers. And together we agreed on those policies that were best suited for how the citizens of Fulshear wanted us to police the community. And I think with that in the TPCA, we were able to achieve that, and it's really a great honor to be a part of that organization. And understand this is not a one-time deal. We have to earn this. So in 4 years, Lindsay probably don't want to hear me say this, but in 4 years, we got to do this again. And it's not an easy task. It's very daunting, very time-consuming, but I think at the end, it's very well worth it. So I appreciate the officers that work for your police department and the commitment that they've made. And most important, Lindsay Miller. Lindsay, if you come out here for just a minute. Lindsay was the program manager, so what it takes is somebody that would stand in front of my door and not let me leave my office and make me read policies and procedures so we can get them approved. So it took somebody, we fought, we argued, but at the end of it, it took somebody with her tenacity to get the job done, and so, for that, I thank you.
Yes. Item E is presentation and recognition of Sergeant Lindsay Miller and Sergeant Felix Vargas.
Every year, well, annually, we try to evaluate conduct that our officers have attained or achievements that they've attained over the course of the year. And this past year, Sergeant Vargas kind of stuck out in my mind in some of the things that he achieved personally. And so this next award is the Police Chief's Achievement Award. He doesn't know anything about it. So he's wondering why his wife and children are here. So, so if you would, Mike, would you?
Yes, sir. The Chief of Police Achievement Award is presented to Sergeant Felix Vargas. This award is given in recognition of exemplary accomplishments over the past year. In the course of 1 year, Sergeant Vargas has been promoted to the rank of Sergeant in the Army National Guard. He also graduated from the University of Houston with a bachelor's.
Down at Cheap Seat.
With a Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice. Sergeant Vargas accomplished this while maintaining his high work standards within the police department. This was no easy feat. Sergeant Vargas is the father of 5 children, a dedicated husband, and is able to balance long shifts, supervise personnel, and school priorities while maintaining a professional work ethic. It is with honor and extreme pride to present this award to Sergeant Felix Vargas on this day, April 19th, for his outstanding fortitude and determination in accomplishing his goals.
All right, one more. Last year, we were able to recognize 3 of our officers for conduct that took place as a result of their duties, their everyday duties. And when you have a combination award, it's not something we take very lightly. So tonight, we would like to award Sergeant Miller is the Chief's Accommodation Award for her work on the recognition committee, recognition program, and the extra things that she does apart from her professional duties as well. So Mike.
On February 16, 2016, the Fulshear Police Department obtained recognized status in Austin, Texas from the Texas Police Chiefs Association. The Texas Law Enforcement Best Practices Recognition Program is a distinguished award and is handed out only to police departments which abide and adhere to extremely high standards set forth by the TPCA. This prestigious accomplishment came after a nearly 2-year process to document and comply with a list of over 160 standards. Sergeant Lindsay Miller was the program manager and spearheaded this achievement. Her hard work and extreme dedication was instrumental in gaining this triumph. Sergeant Miller's endeavor included, but was not limited to, countless hours, detailed documentation, meetings and critical deadlines which had to be met. She accomplished this goal by maintaining her high work standards within the police department, raising her 2 children and seeking her degree. It is with honor and extreme pride to present this award to Sergeant Lindsay Miller on this day, April 19, for outstanding fortitude and determination in accomplishing her goals.
Along with the award, and just to kind of tell you how prestigious this award is, I know Chief Scott just mentioned to you how difficult this is. With a lot of help from Lindsay's family, we felt that this was an opportunity for us to really show our appreciation for the work that she put forward. So. Thank you.
Now back to the order. Item F is consideration and possible action to approve checks paid and payables for March 12, 2016 through April 14, 2016.
Just wanted to ask Chris, I'm here. There you are, okay. On our Wells Fargo business card, I saw we have a little late charge and a finance charge. Are those the 2 items that have been submitted for credit we should see next month?
Wells Fargo, all I have to do is call our bank representative who takes care of it.
Okay, great.
It shows up on the next month's statement.
Okay.
I noticed that we paid Arden's Fulshear $5,000 for the Arbor grants, and I want to applaud the city for doing it. I believe it's from a corporate grant, isn't it?
That's correct.
So I'm glad to see that they're one of the first community organizations to apply for it.
Yes.
Or they received it.
Process. Correct.
Have they received it already?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
That's your opportunity to say our walk is.
Good. Saturday. Come see how we spend it.
approaching City Hall and getting those asked in advance. Christy was out at a conference in training, and so CJ's out at training. Michael was up here on his own to some degree, and so we do appreciate your consideration in that regard. All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? The motion carries. Item G is consideration and possible action to approve the deferred lease agreement between the City of Fulshear and Stefano Ratcliffe for the expansion of lease space for the Fulshear Police Department.
I make a motion that we approve.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Item H is consideration and possible action to approve amended and restated utility agreements between the City of Fulshear and Fulshear MUDs 3A and 3B.
Mayor, it's my understanding that in section 2.01, that joint construction agreement that's referenced there is not something that's going to be incorporated right now, but it's a document that we're going to negotiate in good faith going forward with the MUDs, with the trunk lines.
That's correct.
Yes.
All right. And just for clarification, we didn't have Exhibit A, which is the real property, but I understand that's the same Exhibit A that was originally presented to us in September. So if we can make sure, Ms. Dee, to make sure we include the Exhibit A when we execute the restated agreement.
That's correct.
Make a motion to approve the restated utility agreements between MUD 3A and 3B.
Motion's been made and seconded.
Second.
Ms. Ridge. Also note that we were able to, since we're going through another process, we incurred some additional legal costs, and they agreed to increase the cost of reimbursement to the city. So I was very grateful that they agreed to that. No further comments. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? The motion carries. Item I is consideration and possible action to approve ordinance 2016-1213, an ordinance of the City of Fulshear designating parking restrictions on roadways around Randolph Elementary School in certain areas during certain times and days. And we had a couple of people sign up to speak. William, comment.
I'll hold comment if the motion is what I think is what it is.
Okay. And Shannon? Okay. I didn't forget you the first.
Okay, thank you so much.
We'll open it up for, I guess you want to give a synopsis of it, Michael?
Or I'm happy to introduce it, yes, thank you, Mayor. We did receive some requests from residents through Councilmember Tristan, and we wanted to bring that forward for consideration. There have been reports of vehicles around the school that are dropping off students in cul-de-sacs and other areas which are blocking driveways, blocking potential emergency vehicles and solid waste vehicles and things like that that might need to get through there, as well as other cars. And so it's been brought to our attention to take a look at it, which I know David, our city engineer, and our police department, I think Mike, Captain, and the chief have all gone out and looked at it as well. And Councilmember Tristan has shared some communications with residents, and we bring it before council tonight. There are, as you see in the city engineer's letter and David's letter, that there are pros and cons associated with the no parking zones. The people that have those in front of their homes many times are the losers in some cases when they have a yard person or someone visiting and happens to be there and receive that citation. That is just the other side of the coin that we all have to understand in factoring the decision. We haven't made a recommendation. Council is up for discussion tonight, and whatever direction you give us, we plan to bring back an item to the May agenda based on that direction.
Just to be clear, we don't have a draft of ordinance 2016-1213 present for review.
That is correct. We did not prepare. We wanted to get that direction from council. We weren't sure exactly where the zones might go yet. We hadn't received enough information to know that for sure.
You sure you
You'd like, okay.
We would like to hear from the.
Okay, I'm a resident of one of the cul-de-sacs that is directly next to the school, and a public speaker, this is out of my comfort zone. But when we bought our home in the cul-de-sac, so our kids would be safe, and we had 5 of them, so they would, you know, be able to run and play and not, you know, not have safety issues. And I'm speaking on the safety issue. You mentioned the sanitation, those are all issues, but my son, who's 7, was almost hit by a car that was dropping their kids off at school, as well as my neighbor. Her daughter was almost hit. And, you know, obviously my kid shouldn't be in the street, but he's 7 and he darted in between a car. He didn't see the other car coming in. So I'm here to prayerfully ask you to consider to have signs that would be specifically during the school hours, maybe an hour in the morning, an hour in the afternoon when drop off. I'm a resident. I know there's several other residents here of the cul-de-sac that would be fine with that hour. We would like the safety of our kids and other kids that are walking there, as well as other safety issues. There's a lot of traffic that are going into these sections where the traffic guard has to stop the car rider line, block traffic, and it prevents, it just prevents the flow of traffic, as well as there's additional people to get hit by the cars. And so that's my main concern, as well as, emergency vehicle sanitation and those sort of things. But considering on a personal level, my child was almost hit, that is really an important issue for me. So that's all I have to say. You guys have any questions?
Would you state your name for the record?
My name is Shannon Holder. I also requested, I don't know if we can make a request, but a statement to have the whole sections included in that, because if we, like you said, the impact would be, we put signs in one section, it would just push it back a block, or just down the street. And so I would say all the sections surrounding would help the issue. But thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good job.
I'll mirror what Shannon said. I live 5 doors down from Shannon. I brought it up last month. It was the first time we brought this up. And again, to follow quote protocol, there are similar signs along Creek Bend in front of the school. There are similar signs across the street in the neighborhood along that. There's a pocket park right there. They have the similar signs, 1 hour school zone, morning and afternoon. And we just asked for a similar type sign, not to create new rules, not to create anything abnormal or parking permit. Those were ideas, but I think they're excessive. So I believe a similar sign posted in the cul-de-sac, posted along the streets around to get out, so you don't just move the area down the road. As signs, it's a relatively simple solution in my mind, cost and implementation wise, as well as being able to monitor and judge the impact. If it does move, the topic can come up real quickly and easily of, okay, that area needs a sign. Adding 1 or 2 signs isn't a major hurdle like parking permits or anything else, or just blocking street parking I think is excessive as well. And cutting the access off would be excessive. I know my wife runs to the lake and back through that gap in the sidewalk. So we use it as a neighborhood, we like it. We bought the house near the school, we bought the house at the end of the cul-de-sac. All of those were on purpose. So I think following that existing signage would be the best, simplest, easiest solution for this problem. Thank you.
Have you had experience with having a sign up that's for 2 hours a day, an hour in the morning and an hour in the afternoon?
It's very common to do that around schools, to use the active school zone hours to try to minimize the impact and to target a specific time when it's occurring. And that's when, of course, parents are queuing up to drop off. And many people unfortunately just don't like lines. They don't want to wait. That's part of the issue.
And were those successful when they were?
They typically, unfortunately, over time, they're usually residents end up being penalized because they will have someone visit them. But these residents seem to understand that and be willing to take it on. So that's
we've talked to them the entire section, and everybody that is impacted agrees with it. We don't want to move it, but everybody else in the section understands the problem and they're receptive to it as well. And the signs, there are similar signs exactly like this right across the street from the school. So this area, and I think you may ask one of the police officers,
there was a section about a pocket park that had so much parking, just quick interim parking, drop the kid off, pick them up, that it was causing impacts to the intersection. And they would put up yellow cones, orange cones, and section this area off. For like 3 months, they had these cones up. And the day they took them down, parking was back in. So, I mean, so,
It's my understanding that our chief and our captain went around with our engineer and surveyed 2 specific locations directly. Those are Little Creek Court and, Cross Point Court. Little Creek Bend, sorry. Little Creek Bend.
Would you like them to comment on that, or?
I mean, I've spoken with the residents, that they do seem to have a consensus, and I mean, that's what I read from his letter, that they're people they interacted with kind of have the same feeling.
For the benefit of the constituents or residents in Rome, just like to read what our city engineer said.
please.
One solution to this problem would be to prohibit on-street parking on those 2 streets from 7:50 to 8:50 a.m. and from 3:10 and 4:10 p.m. as we have in other areas. During our visit with citizens in these 2 neighborhoods, we could not find a consensus as to if we have a problem and what should be done. If we limit on-street parking on these 2 streets, it will apply to the homeowners as well, to all others using the street. These include lawn maintenance crews, contractors working for the homeowners, etc. It may well help with this problem, but will result in different problems for the homeowners. I've been involved in this exact same problem in other cities and in other school districts. Usually the city approves the no parking ordinance and put the signs up only to take them down again. I've never found a solution to this problem that doesn't result in at least 1/2 of the homeowners being upset. Thank you for Mr. London.
We can put the signs up, and we're happy to do that and get that done. But there will be some hardship on some of the homeowners there.
Chief, can you speak to the fact that these 7:50 to 8:50, 3:10 to 4:10 comports with our crossing school zone times?
Exactly.
Okay, those exact times.
Councilmember Tristan.
Yes, so I was going to give a very quick Cliff Notes version of all the research I've done with this. I'm not a traffic expert, that's why I've asked for the city engineer and chief to be here as well. I basically, everyone I think knows about me in public safety. So it caught my attention. I know we had an ambulance that couldn't get through, and then a lot of parents concerned with children being run over by vehicles. I'm a teacher, I work at a school. We had a child run over last year from something very similar, parking on the side of the road and taking off without looking. And these people are already in a hurry because they obviously aren't using the car rider line because they're in a hurry, so they're going to speed off from that spot. So those are my personal observations as a teacher. Now, I also drove around to other elementary schools wondering why are we having so many problems with people in front of other people's homes when that doesn't seem to be a problem in other residential areas with surrounding elementaries. And one difference is we don't allow parking on Fluellen Oaks because people were just letting out kids running across the street right there. So I think that's what pushed it. And so I do agree with the fact that this might just push it into other sections. So looking at it and driving around and observing on several different afternoons, seeing what this chaos looks like. In some afternoons it's a lot worse than others, and when it's bad, it's really bad. I mean, cars can't even get in and out. I think sections, marking off those sections would be the best thing. I sent council, I know y'all probably got it like 10 this morning, but I divided up, I had over 50 residents' messages with over like 70 comments that I've sent to council. And I divided them up by the residents that are affected and the residents that live in CCR but aren't necessarily directly affected. And the consensus was the ones that are directly affected want the signs, understanding the consequence of if I had a lawn service, they can't park in front of my house. If I had my mom visiting, she could get a citation for parking in front of my house. Those are things they had to take into consideration that I've spoken with a lot of them about. But it seems as though they were all okay with that. The ones that said it would be a problem were the ones that weren't directly affected. And so I wanted to divide that up and for council to take that into consideration. I know another concern that y'all probably, if you read the packets from citizens, are concerned about more ordinances. And of course, we like to limit those to what do we really need. And so that's of course a concern. And also the number of parking signs, or what kind of issues, or who's going to enforce it. So those are all issues from both sides. Just trying to recap. And I think that if you've been there on a really bad day, it is extremely dangerous. And the kids are dodging cars, and the parents that are biking, I've seen them dodging cars. I've seen them on my jump off of a bicycle because she almost got hit. So for the days that it's usually when a cone is out, our police department's, you know, right there, it's better. But of course they can't sit there 24/7 every day regarding this traffic issue. So I think that it would have to be in sections, to where basically the last option would be to park at the dog park and then walk. That would be your only option, because everything else would be in no parking areas.
Do you remember when they changed, didn't they change, the school district change some requirements on the distance from the school when the kids could not be picked up by a bus?
They did
How long
change
ago
it
was that?
this year.
Because I'm wondering if this school, the traffic impact analysis was done for less drop-offs than they have now, and they're changing the radius from school that you can't ride a bus. It's forcing more people to that area to be dropped off. And I think we need to work with KDISD on this as well.
And that is something that I did ask about. I never did really get like the traffic person from KDISD on the phone, because I did have a citizen, and I put, it's actually the last comment that you see on the packet, that said, we are almost a mile from the school walking, but we can't get a bus with like younger kids. That's difficult over a mile to walk if it's like dark or anything. And that is, I think that has caused part of the problem, is that, you know, the buses are like 2 miles. You have to be pretty far for a bus to pick you up.
And I know whatever the council decides to do on this issue, I think we still need to work with KDISD looking for a more permanent solution to this problem. And if we work together, I think we'll have better opportunity to solve it.
And I will tell you that the PTA, as well as the administration at Randolph, have sent out notes, emails. They've asked nicely, that kind of thing. I've had a lot of citizens that have approached parents. It didn't go so well on 3 of them. So, I mean, I put those comments in here. And I know they have addressed it. It is not only an issue with our school. It's an issue with a lot. But the difference is a lot of them are parking just along these streets, kind of like we have Llewellyn Oaks. They're just parking along those streets and letting children out, which causes the same issue. So that's, we're not the only school.
I'd like to just say, and it seems like, Mrs. Tristan, thank you so much for conducting all of this. There's over 50 or 60 individual citizens' inputs, and you took a lot of time and effort to actually work on the public safety. I think we echo my Mayor Kirkendall, we do need to work with KDISD, but I think the city should make an effort, together with the Fulshear Police Department, to alleviate some of the congestion and some of the safety issues for the citizens.
Chief, have you had any interaction or communication from the crossing guards? How is it impacting? Because I know we have 3 crossing guards, 2 down at Pride, 1 right near Little Creek.
Here's the issue, and if I can say this before I answer your question, whatever decision council makes, if it be absolute, that way it gives us an opportunity to rid the problem as opposed to going elsewhere. We're good with any decision you make. The issue, to answer your question, is if we put the signs to right here, the problem will be right here. So when I say absolute, I think that we can manage aesthetics by putting the right signs, no parking between, this time and this time with the arrows, dictating that. The crossing guard issue is this, and I wish I know, maybe you can help me with the street. You can take a right where the car rider line is. You can take a right, do a U-turn, come back in and stop at the sign, and then cut in line. So that's the issue that we're having, is that I think the parking needs, if we're going to do no parking, I think it needs to go all the way to there. I mean, there are state laws about parking in front of a stop sign, and we can deal with that, but farther up the road, and for the folks that live here, I think they understand what I'm talking about. These crossing guards, they are, for a better word, they're abused. Okay, nobody listens to them. They do their own thing, and it's unfortunate. We do have the crossing guards there, but they can't minimize the traffic or minimize the traffic problem or even negate what these people are doing. So it does take us working with KDISD to offset this problem, and I'll use this word. We have to condition people to do the things the way the school district sees best for safety
and the well-being of those children, and also for the flow and mobility around that school. I can tell you that let there be bad weather days, and I'm glad we canceled school the last 2 days because we've had traffic backed up to Morgan Spur off of Cross Creek Bend as a result of the car riders trying to get into Randolph. So it is an issue, but as far as the dealing with the problem with Little Creek, I think if it's absolute, and the folks are good with that, because we explained to them that it's across the board, it's for everybody. I think that they're rid of that problem. I mean, they're ready to get rid of that problem. And so whatever you guys decide tonight, just, we could make it absolute, so it's enforceable, and we can actually take care of that problem as soon as we possibly can.
I did have people contact me from Liberty Heights as well as Cedar Elm Lane. They see similar issues, especially Liberty Heights, because it's pushed since the parking signs went up at the park. So it's this section, and then all of Little Creek.
Mayor,
Yeah, everything around this one.
if you don't mind, I think our best solution is, Cross Creek's going to continue to grow. We're going to have to continue to have more and more kids, more and more parents wanting to drop the kids off. And so we're going to have to come up with some type of solution that's going to benefit everybody. I think we need to get with the KDISD administration, KDISD PD, the residents of Cross Creek, Fulshear City Council, whatever we can do to come together to try to just look at the issue at hand. Because although we're asking for no parking zones in our section, but you also have to take the issue that that sign might be directly in front of your house. And it's okay, I understand it's a safety thing, but when something gets placed in front of your house and then your neighbor doesn't get one, there's just other things you have to look at when it all comes up to the end of it. And I can understand that by law, correct me if I'm wrong, even with the out of sign there, if someone's blocking your driveway, you can call the police at any time and they can be given a citation for doing that.
By the time they get there, they're gone.
There's three parking issues we've looked at every time we looked at the problem. 18 inches from the curb, blocking private drives, and parks on the right side of the road. So those are the issues that we look at that we can enforce. We see the issue. I think along with it being safety issues is what's been expressed to me. It's all out nuisance. I mean, if I get ready to leave and people won't leave or get out of my way to keep from blocking my driveway, and I understand there have been some verbal altercations as a result of that. So whatever we can do to definitively get rid of this problem, I'm all for it. I think it just has to be absolute, as I said. So.
I believe the resolution might line operations. So in the city's operations team, administration, working with the school district and the residents to make that happen. And then if need be, we can consider the ordinance.
Councilmember Gibson, thank you. I know you went through a lot of this. I know a lot of you got a lot of messages and a lot of contacts. And so assimilating this for us is a great tool for us to go forward in discussing this. And I'd like to ask that, if we're going to talk about this in concrete terms, we need something to review and something to float to the residents and people to understand what the solution is for crafting. So I'd ask that staff draft a draft ordinance to bring back to council so that we can begin reviewing this and incorporating all the information and comments we've heard tonight.
And so in general, go ahead. And so in doing that, you're asking for maybe to cover a certain amount of sections or just in general?
Right. Well, I would just start with our basic information, look at these immediate impact areas, and so if we have a framework, we can start figuring out what makes sense so that it's not overbroad, it's tailored, and it makes sense if ordinance is the direction council ultimately chooses to go. We just want to make sure that we have something we can start working with. I mean, all this information is great, but let's get a document so we can move this issue forward.
And I have one more request. Chief, could you maybe be the one that contacted KDISD, Police and Transportation? I'm not getting very far. With them, it's kind of hard to say, hey, we need more bus stops and we need y'all out here to help with this. They're like, oh, everybody has these problems, so good luck.
Is it overcrowding as well? Are there a bunch of 10 buildings here, or is this one not like that?
6.
We don't have 2.
6.
Temporary buildings.
No, there's 6.
There's 6? Oh.
6.
Okay, yes, so we have 6.
Maybe part of the problem, nobody wants to wait in that line.
The line, I have to pick up my daughter in the car rider line, it's like 10 minutes. And actually, I've seen people park across the street, I'm like leaving and I'm done, and they're still trying to walk back to their car. So I think they think that it's faster, but a lot of times it's not. It's
So
a good
efficient.
process.
It's so
It
efficient.
is.
I'm sorry, I know I didn't have permission to speak, but they do a great job with that line. There's just, it makes no sense. It really doesn't.
I would concur with their plan, although when I first saw it, when the school opened, I would question, but they put it together, 10 minutes might, depending on what day it is, that might be a long, but they are very good about getting in. I think just people are just impatient and want to do it their way. And that's why I say, I think we have to condition those folks either with ordinance or some other means that we can rid the problem.
Chief, are y'all thinking that the whole S here needs to be desert?
And then also Liberty Heights.
Yeah.
Do I have anybody?
Up here?
Yep, and then Cedar Elm.
Over
Those
here?
are where you see the parking. Cedar Elm is right here, and Liberty Heights is right here. This is where I've seen a bunch, and then right here is where they're blocking like the driveways.
We did this, right?
This is only the part, so there's like 3 signs right here. We haven't done the whole.
Okay, so they're still doing it up here.
Yeah, oh yes, and the side streets, the cul-de-sacs, they go park all in here. In front of homes. I've seen a lot of in front of fire hydrants. They're.
I'll tell you what, if you folks won't tell, tomorrow morning I'll get you an aerial as to what it looks like.
So with that.
Okay, when is it?
Afternoon's worse.
Yeah, the afternoon is worse. But we'll do some aerials.
That's cool.
That's cool.
Again. It's hard to keep the kids in the house, you know. Stuff.
Call the meeting back to order. I would appreciate it. Councilmember Messick has a comment.
Thank you. With that in mind, I'd like to make a motion to postpone ordinance 2016-1213. Ordinance of the City of Fulshear designating parking restrictions on roadways around Rainbow Elementary School in certain areas during certain times and day until the May meeting.
Okay, we have a motion second to postpone. Any
Yes.
further discussion on that?
And just to verify, in May you'll bring an ordinance for us to look at, as well as maybe like feedback hopefully from KDIC.
So that was a question I was going to have after we voted. Is there a general consensus to develop a plan of signage to control the problem?
During the active school zone times.
Okay. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Is that enough direction?
Thank y'all. I think the chief should be the one that picks where the sign goes to.
Correct. I think Councilmember Roberts would like me just to reiterate, staff was really not clear on the direction the council may go on this, so they didn't prepare an ordinance in advance, so, but they have their orders now, and they'll move forward on that.
So we didn't deny the ordinance, it just, it wasn't in place yet.
We don't have a draft. We're going to
We
review
didn't
an
bring
ordinance
one
next
forward.
week.
But after reading the engineer's report, you know why he left it to us. Item J is consideration and possible action to approve resolution number 2016-302, a resolution of the City of Fulshear adding members and delineating the responsibilities of the Architectural Design Committee. It says CJ's going to introduce it, but
I'm happy to go to his service.
what? Yes. Sorry. All right, we have Lori Zante.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Lori Zante, and as chairman of the Architectural Design Committee, I request that no additional members be added to this committee. I sent CJ and Mr. Ross an email on April 7th addressing the subject with my recommendation, which is to keep the current committee as is and bring in subject matter experts as consultants on an as-needed basis. Most of the committee members agreed with me. As you know, in January, we brought you a well-written ordinance which was unanimously adopted with the people that are currently on the committee. Our consultant, Gary Mitchell, provides us with the information we need to make our decisions. For any engineering questions, we are fortunate to have Amy Pierce, who is also a commission member on planning and zoning. She is a civil engineer with specialization in sustainable design and construction. Her expertise includes heavy, highway, commercial, healthcare, and technology sector. Michelle Kubel also gives the committee her expert advice on building codes and regulations. We are well equipped to tackle the technical issues, especially with Gary's guidance. We, the committee, received wonderful compliments from the council and city staff regarding our efficiency and team compatibility. Since December, the committee has been eager to start again, so we had a productive meeting on April 4th. The ADC is a well-oiled machine, as is, and the old saying goes, if it isn't broken, don't try to fix it. I urge the City Council to not add any more members to the Architectural Design Committee, but to allow us to forge ahead with our new responsibilities. Thank you.
Thank you.
I was kind of wondering why, I mean, didn't they have landscaping and only a landscaping expert? So it might be better to have people on a consulting basis.
If I understand, and I apologize, I'm having technical difficulties. My computer gave me the blue screen of death, so we're going to see if this comes back up. But if I'm going to read over your shoulder, our scope as we go forward for expanding what this committee is going to look at on our behalf is regulatory standards for parking, hardscape, drainage, screening, which I would assume is landscaping, and installation standards for installation of towers. I'm always in favor of certainly adding more volunteers. We have a wealth of people in this city who have a lot of talent, who have a lot of expertise, and I think as a council, we can't be harmed by more information as opposed to less. And I think getting our recommendations, I understand Mr. Worley is on our P&Z. He has traffic expertise. I'll let someone who's more familiar with Mr. Worley's credentials speak to that. In addition to Mr. Conlon, who is an engineer, and I know he serves in a lot of different functions for other cities. I think both of these gentlemen are willing to come forward. They've approached the city and said, hey, we want to offer our expertise, and I think that they can only be an added voice and strengthen what is already a great committee. But I think we'll get a better work product for us to evaluate coming out of that.
And Mr. Worley's on P&Z, he's on the tree committee.
Would you bring up a good point? Since we're going to talk about landscaping, one of the things I'd like to see incorporated in this scope is we have a tree committee. And so I know that some of their discussions, so I've had the chance to sit in a few of their meetings, I wouldn't want two different committees advising us on two different things. Not that they all have to have the same ideas, but when they come to those specific topics, I'd like the committee to try and organize joint sessions so that we're not both reinventing the wheel from two different committees. So if we could add that to the scope when they get to that particular topic to work hand in hand with the tree committee.
As Councilmember Krennic, we already have discussed that issue, and that is what we are planning on doing.
I also decided to speak to this issue.
Okay, would you like to speak now before we continue?
You can continue, but I want to speak before you vote.
Okay.
I'd like to say.
Go ahead. I was just going to say that, you know, the council originally formed this committee, and it had another representative from P&Z, and then it also had another member from Cross Creek Ranch. And so, looking at the issues that we dealt with the Ace Hardware development, and a lot of actually some of the issues you've discussed here today, the challenges that are faced around Randolph Elementary, it's not going to be clear cut, I believe, on decisions you're going to make on parking. You know, I talked to Miss O'Neill just this weekend about, you know, her candy shop. That's been a great thing for downtown Fulshear. But if we just institute parking regulations that are too onerous and too restrictive, she'll be legislated out of business, and we don't want that to happen. So I think David Worley, he serves on P&Z. He, I think, retired from the city of Sugar Land. He was their director of traffic there. I think he brings a great background for that. I know there's some concern that we're maybe losing sight of the trees and the touchy-feely side of things, but I don't see these two individuals that's coming in and trying to run over the committee with development. I think they're very responsible individuals. I talked to Michelle Killebrew, and I think William attended the last meeting. She seemed very favorable to me on him serving in that role and trying to help guide that committee and be part of that committee as well. And so I talked to Michelle yesterday while we were here during emergency operations. And so she seemed to be, didn't have any problem with it at all. So I would recommend council move forward with the ordinance as adopted and expand the, or as presented, and expand the tasks that they have before them.
Mayor, I make a resolution to approve, I make a motion to approve resolution number 2016-302, with the understanding that when they come to that particular topic, they will have joint meetings with the tree committee.
I'd like to make an amendment to that motion.
We haven't had a second yet, so do we have a second for the motion to get the thing rolling? All right.
Mayor, I'd like to talk before you say.
The motion dies for lack of second. Would you like to make your comments now? Let's take our public comment, and then Councilmember Tristan, you're up. Next.
I want to talk on this issue as a citizen on behalf of all the other citizens that are here today, as well as those that aren't, and the future citizens that are looking to Fulshear who want to come here. I would preferably like to have the most qualified people on the committees that give recommendations to this council. This particular committee and the people that were being considered are highly qualified. I would even venture to say more so than some of the people already sitting on that committee. And to allow and to deny the citizens here of the most qualified people on those committees to make decisions that then are recommendations to the council, I think is outrageous for it to die for lack of a second. And what I would ask and have all of the people on this dais consider, to account to all these people here today, if you're going to vote no or not even allow a second on a vote, to tell these people why it is you won't even allow that consideration, or why you want to vote no, because everyone here deserves the best on our committees. That's what I'd like to say.
Okay. Thank you. Councilmember Tristan.
I do agree with what you're saying. I think these two gentlemen do bring a lot of expertise and experience. I know one of them I've worked with on the parking issues of Randolph, and he does do his research and he knows a lot about what he's talking about, and that's very admirable. I also have to take into consideration that we have a committee that has worked and done exactly what we were hoping they would do, presented within a timely manner an architect ordinance, I think in January, with 5 people, have always had 5 people. They're asking us not to change that so that they can continue moving forward. So I'm trying to take that into a balance. It sounds like Mr. Worley is already on the tree committee and planning and zoning, so I don't think that he would never have any input in landscaping or anything else. Same thing with Mr. Conlon. He's working on different things. I don't think that their expertise will fall on deaf ears. I believe that we have to take into consideration that we have a lot of commissions, we have a lot of committees, we need a lot of volunteers for a lot of different things, and when we have them that are already working well, it's like, why are we changing something that's working when they have 2 steps left in their 3-step process? The biggest part has already been done. And that's why I would like to take into consideration what has been asked by the chairman of that committee, that we don't add more people, but work with those people in different capacities, like Mrs. Krennic said, working the tree committee with architect. But it is nothing against these gentlemen. I know I've already worked with one of them, and he's very ideas. I'm not saying that at all. I just think we have to take into consideration they have presented us with a fantastic architect plan, and they had an expert helping them the entire time. It's gone smoothly with 5 people. They're almost done. That's where I stand on, and that is why I did not second.
Mayor and Councilmember Tristan, thank you for sharing your comments. But if I'm not reading this correctly, please tell me so. But Mr. Worley has traffic expertise and knowledge. He offered that to our P&Z. He stepped forward to offer, this is a direct, what we're asking the scope to be expanded to. It seems illogical to me to not have someone who has traffic expertise on that committee. They are not making the ordinance, they're not drafting the policy, they are making recommendations to us. We have been, as a council, set up here and said, we want experts, we want the best people, we want volunteers. It is completely disingenuous to me, and I don't take personal offense. I mean, everyone is entitled to their opinion, and I respect that. But to say we want volunteers and we want people to help us, and then we don't put them on the committees when they step forward. I think that we are shooting ourselves and we are short-sighted as a city if we don't embrace those people who step forward and say, I want to help and participate in this process. And so with that, I will re-urge my motion to approve Resolution 2016-302, appointing these two gentlemen and making sure that the committee coordinates with the tree committee when they get to the landscaping issues.
Motion's been made. Do we have a second?
I'd like to make an amendment to the motion, if I may, Mayor.
There's not a motion. Is there a second? Being none, it dies for lack of second.
Mayor, if you don't mind, I'd like to speak and I respect everybody's comments. I appreciate, as the ADC committee, I pushed for that committee for a long time. And when we got in there, we worked really hard and we, I think, created one of the best documents that a committee has brought to this council. And we were very highly praised by this council. I think that going forward, even when we were creating that document, we even asked to take on parking and landscaping at the time because we knew issues were going to come up with the downtown piece of property. We weren't given those issues at that time, so now we are given those issues and we're working on them. We just had one meeting. I think that adding more people at this time when the committee's been really moving forward at a good pace, it could actually just clutter the room sometimes. And when you have a group that's working together and you're adding more to it, you might stall a process that I think we all would like to get on the books quickly so we can take care of those issues that will be coming to us under parking and landscaping with new development. And I think if you're adding new people, you can actually take a risk of really making this document come a lot later than sooner. And so I would urge the council to vote the way they feel pleased to, but for myself, I thoroughly enjoy being on this committee and I thoroughly enjoy everything that's worked on this committee.
And just to clarify a couple of things, Mayor Pro Tem Roberts, I believe this committee, when we voted on it, we were all in favor of it. You spearheaded it, you currently serve and vote on that committee, and when we formed it, I believe there were 7 members and 2 people dropped off. So it's the charge of the council. We wanted 7 experts. We wanted 7 people for the scope that we unanimously voted on, which did not include parking. We had the power, and we always have the power to set the scope of what we're working on. So I just want to be abundantly clear that this wasn't trying to malign the committee or pigeonhole it so they could or could not do something. We've always had the power. The 5 of us sitting up here have said we can decide what the scope is and what the scope is not. And at that time, if we reflect back when we formed it, we wanted volunteers who stepped forward, who had expertise, who were willing to step up and serve. And I'm sorry, I can't look these people in the face, to my fellow council members, and say, I'm not going to accept you as a volunteer. I'm not going to let you participate. I'm not going to let you be a voice in your city. It's just, it's wrong and it's disheartening because that's not who we are as a community.
Why don't we take different consultants on rather than add committee members?
Because these are residents who have the expertise, who want to step in and volunteer, as opposed to spending taxpayer dollars to hire experts. These people are not going to get paid to be on the committee. They just want to come and participate.
Can they go as a consultant rather than a committee member?
A consultant relationship with the city would imply that we're paying them. These are volunteers.
Okay, I'm sorry, it might be a misnomer of what I'm
right.
calling
No,
them.
I'm just.
They can. I mean, it's like I've recommended some people for landscaping. They would not join the committee, but when that item comes up, they will be there to use their knowledge, to volunteer their knowledge on the landscaping.
And that's what these 2 individuals do.
Without joining the
It
committee.
seems to me that if I may, I'm sorry, I want to interrupt you. Just, we have a lot of people apply to help us in home rule charter, or planning and zoning, or the tree committee, on the parks committee, which I'm on. We also, Mayor, you're planning to do a zoning board of adjustments. So we submitted some names, and I'd like to see new committees actually take some fresh blood. But when the chairman of the architectural design committee, who worked very hard with her members here, and brought some really good architectural design standards to the city, I believe it passed unanimously. When she is coming here and asking the council to not add any more people, she's got all that she needs. I don't see a reason why we wouldn't apply those highly skilled people like Mr. Condola and I think Mr. Worley that applied to something that would really be of their expertise. I'd love to have them on something like the zoning board of adjustments. What a wonderful use of their talent. I'd love to do that, but if I had a volunteer citizen here that's come to us, taking the time to put together a presentation for us to consider and saying, I've got everything I need, I just need an additional consultant, which we have been utilizing and the city is utilizing for a number of other projects. I'd like to see that done sooner rather than later. And I think I'm comfortable with the current slate if the chairman of the committee, who is a city unpaid volunteer, is doing it.
And we're not trying to say we don't want volunteers. I think it's fantastic that we have volunteers stepping up. I think we're creating positions for these volunteers when we have other vacant spots available in other commissions. That's what the council's trying to say. We have needs so many places in the city. That's where we need these two very qualified gentlemen at, not creating positions where they're not needed. And I also want to know, did we already hire a consultant for that? Didn't we already hire a consultant?
Candy
Yeah, Gary Mitchell. Candy Keys, so collaborative.
Draft the entire thing.
Okay, so he's already been contracted.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yes.
Kenda Keys Collaborative, we actually hired them to start working with the city in 2014 to work on our comprehensive plan. And we hired them for specific qualifications they had in dealing with cities who were undergoing a high growth rate. They've done an excellent job, and I believe that contributes to the great success of our comprehensive plan to start with. And I believe it was a huge success to the Architectural Design Committee. He has a lot of experience with architectural design and those sorts of features with zoning. However, when you get into parking and drainage, I don't think he's going to bring the same level of expertise on those subjects. He's still a great person, and I'm glad that we were able to bring him to the city and hire him for that job. But here it was requested to deal with specific topics, like parking and drainage.
And they've started.
Especially in the downtown area. And these individuals could fulfill that role, seeing that your original charge that was given to the committee is lacking 2 individuals. One of those from P&Z, and another one that I had listed from Cross Creek Ranch.
So, Mayor Kirkendall, do you think that the 5 architect committee members cannot handle landscaping and parking? Is that what the issue is?
If they have the correct membership on the committee.
Because I don't think any of them had an architect degree when they designed the architect.
Now, I believe Gary Mitchell's background is heavily in planning and on the architectural side. And I think he was able to bring them together and craft a document that was acceptable to this council. They had feedback from the committee, but I think Gary was able, he knew the city because he had been working with us, I don't know, for the past 2.5 or 3 years. So he, I think, was the key to the success of the committee. I think the committee members provide vital information, give a perspective on where the community is going. But in this case, we do have the opportunity to draw on the strengths and the talents of people from within our community who are concerned about these issues.
Mr. Conlon, are you, sorry to put you on the spot. Thank you for being here tonight, first and foremost. Can you share with the council a little bit of what you do for a living, your expertise, and why it is that you're wanting to volunteer for this position? What can you offer to the
put me on the spot a little bit.
Yeah, sorry. Talk about your qualifications.
I'm a civil engineer, stormwater drainage engineer. Been doing it for 15 years. I've spent 10 years as a mud engineer dealing with all aspects of mud work, be it from finance to water plants to drainage, detention. Worked on the regional flooding issues with Tropical Storm Allison when it came through Harris County. remapped several streams, no FEMA and floodplains. I've done residential land development, I've done commercial site development. I am actually the engineer who signed and sealed the drainage study for FM 1093 extension in West Park, all the way from 99 all the way out past Fulshear to James Lane. So my name and seal is on the drainage study for that roadway. I know the crossings as it crosses right through here. The different outfalls go through Bessie's Creek and whatnot. So I serve on Mud 172 and Cross Creek Ranch, the central third of Cross Creek. So I've got buy-in to the city, I've got buy-in to the mud. That's a little bit of my experience and background, but it's 80% drainage, 20% kind of general city service.
And are you willing to serve on this committee
Yeah.
that this council approved?
I originally did talk with Michelle Killebrew back when, first time I met her was the master drainage plan for Bow Dark and Redbird down to that area. I was one of the engineers that we did the site visit, we put a proposal in. Y'all picked Freeze and Nichols, great company, they've got a lot of experience out here, so they know what they're doing. So I met her that way. I've talked to her since with development stuff, working with my own pool, so developed with her permitting. I came to the Architecture Design Committee meeting just last month, or a couple weeks ago, and was impressed with the committee. Lori has a good group of a team. I'm not trying to come in. I was kind of, hey, this is interesting work. This has a good base to set up the city for the next 50 years. I have not had anything.
Sure, and the point being is, you know, you've explained to us, and thank you for sharing your qualifications with us, that it's, how can we not take someone who is our own resident, who wants to come and volunteer to be on this committee? He doesn't sound like he'll be a hindrance. He doesn't, I mean, no one is trying to thwart what the committee's doing. We all want this committee to move forward. I mean, how can we not put experts in our own backyard putting valuable input into what we're ultimately going to decide, which is an ordinance that will make everyone live under?
And how can we not listen to a committee that is asking us to take into consideration that they've worked very well together already for the biggest portion of this entire ordinance? How can we not take that into consideration? That's 5 other volunteers.
I can answer that. Because they are bringing their expertise. They're willing to invest their time and talent into the city, just like this individual. It's our charge as the council to tell the committee what to do. They advise us. They advise us, and we are the directors of them. Things flow down, and the reason we do that is because we form committees in any, whether you're in city government or private practice or business or schools, you form committees to gather volunteers, to synthesize information, to put all your best people on the plan, to give you recommendations, because not one of us can sit up here and say that we have expertise or individual expertise in screening, landscaping, hardscape, drainage, installation of towers, and parking and traffic. And so I just, maybe I'm missing the whole boat, but how can we not tell our residents who want to step forward and volunteer, they can't?
You know, we had, what, 60 applications to be on the charter? And I think 17 were chosen.
That's right.
And we had, got a, no, thank you.
And we had 7 people initially on this committee. There's nothing wrong with replacing those 2, especially people who have expertise in the scope that we're expanding into. It's just disingenuous.
Otherwise, by not putting them on the committee and having them come in, and if you're willing to lend your knowledge, go in, when you're working on drainage, go sit in on those drainage meetings and work with them.
I'm very grateful to all of our volunteers that come into the city.
For a minute, Councilmember Ridge was speaking.
I think we should just finish.
I may have a comment. Councilmember Vesey comes first.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ms. Vesey.
I just want to say I'm very grateful to William Conlon, to all the other volunteers that stepped up. The typical process, how we get, just to educate the public, how do we pick somebody to sit on a committee? How does the council decide? Well, typically the volunteer is going to fill out a form. That is a standard form and it's uploaded to the Dropbox, the city administrator or Mr. Ross upload. So we, the council, get to read that form, the application, see the willingness of our constituents to serve, and we welcome their expertise, their technical skills. That a lot of people have no technical skills, but they have the time and the willingness to take an issue forward and to make something great out of it. So I started by serving on the Parks Committee, but 4 years ago when Mayor Krippendall appointed me as the then council. Then I started serving on the Tree Committee. I just recently resigned because I understand there's more people in the pipeline wanting to take on that role, and it's wonderful to do that. So I encourage all citizens to actually apply, use the standard process that we have established for that, and also know that there's a number of other committees that the mayor has already started putting together, like the Zoning Board of Adjustment, which is very important, very critical for us. So I'd like to encourage everybody, I'm not saying that time is wasted. I'm saying we welcome and love the time, and we want to fill it in the slots where we actually need to volunteers to help.
I couldn't agree with Mrs. Councilmember Messick more. We absolutely need people who want to step up and volunteer. And everything she just said applies to these two individuals on this committee. And I would ask the council to please approve, I make a motion to approve Resolution 2016-302, a resolution of the City of Fulshear adding members and delineating the responsibilities of the Architectural Design Committee.
Do we have a second? Motion dies for lack of second.
May I
Councilmember-
please make an amendment?
I have a question, Mr. Conlon. Would you be willing to fill a position that's voided on another committee?
I've already talked with both Tommy and Michelle about the zoning board of adjustments. My understanding that committee is potentially at need, and it's once every 6 months, if that. There wasn't other
Also, the
members.
tree, I think the tree committee, I mean, we have vacancies on
I
commissions.
have no knowledge of trees. That's not something I want to mess with.
But he has drainage, he has knowledge of drainage, and that's what this committee is.
And that's what
working on.
Mrs.
We're here tonight to talk about the Architectural Design Committee.
I just wanted to know where he's at. Y'all asked him questions directly, so I want to know if he's willing to volunteer, if he'd be willing to volunteer on open spots, not spots created.
How are we missing?
I think we're mixing up advantage of their expertise, but it's up to council's pleasure if you will make a motion.
I make a motion, consideration and possible action to approve resolution number 2016-302, a resolution of the city, and this would be my amendment, Grady, delineating the responsibilities of the Architect Design Committee without adding members.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve resolution 2016-302 as presented, expanding the scope without adding any new members. Any further questions or discussion?
Thank you.
Right? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Nays.
The ayes have it. The motion carries. Item K and L will be taken together. We have consideration of and possible action on resolution 2016-303, a resolution of the City of Fulshear authorizing a project of the City of Fulshear Development Corporation, CDC, Type A Economic Development Sales Corporation. And L, consideration of and possible action on resolution number 2016-304, a resolution of the City of Fulshear authorizing a project of the Fulshear Development Corporation, FDC, a Type B Economic Development Sales Tax Corporation. And on those two subjects, I'd like to recommend that we will go into executive session at 9:08 p.m. We have an executive session, closed session in accordance with Government Code Section 551.071. We have legacy Section 3 settlement issue and Section 551.072 dealing with real property.
I'll make a motion that we move into executive session.
Motions have been made and seconded to go into executive session. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Time.
Motion carries. 9:09. Meeting back to order. Back from executive session at 9:58 p.m. Ms. D, we previously had read items K and L into the meeting minutes, so we'll move on to item M. Consideration and possible action to approve memorandum of understanding between the City of Fulshear and Arts Fulshear providing for the use of the Irene Stern Community Center during certain times of day.
Thank you, Mayor. We have been working with Arts Fulshear on an agreement, and an earlier draft is included in your packet. We began by structuring it after a long-standing senior agreement. So we structured this memorandum of understanding from that, but we've had some back and forth communications that have led to some edits. I think we're close. There's a couple of points. The payment item is one. The seniors currently are on a 20% of the utility cost agreement is what they pay based on their usage. Arts Fulshear is proposing a $12 an hour usage fee, which might be close to the same. We don't know yet. That's something we're checking. The other thing is, the city reserving the right to use the facility. They had proposed 15-day notice. We think we're probably going to need a shorter period of time, something more like if we had to have a 72-hour meeting, a 72-hour requirement versus a 3-day was what we were thinking. Obviously, open to suggestions from council. Those are a couple of the primary points that I think we're down to. If anything else concerns you that's in there now, we're open to discussing those. This is an agreement that we found that was dated 2010 with the seniors. So it's just a starting point that we've used rather than starting over.
Mr. Ross, I think it's important that we get this memorandum of understanding in final form in short order. I would like to ask, what do you think is the projected time frame on hashing out? I mean, if we're going to redline between Arts Fulshear and the city, can we put a date on that so that we can get a finalized agreement to review, whether it's a 20% of cost or a $12 an hour, just something that's in line, so that going forward, not only can we use this with Arts Fulshear, but anyone else who's wanting to use the facility for long-term purposes, like Arts Fulshear has been seeking to do for at least over 9 months.
Yes. And the latest we anticipate this coming back to council would be the next meeting. And they're on target for a June 1st start, which is when the summer begins. So if council's generally on board with the language that they're seeing and the two things that I've mentioned, we're happy to finish this drafting and bring it back to your May meeting.
Okay.
Assuming that there's nothing major that concerns council. If there are some other major items that we need to talk about, we're open to that as well.
Once they're using the Irene Stern, are the classes going to be free to the public?
No. No, because we're paying our teachers.
I make a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding for it to be finalized between the city of Fulshear and Arts Fulshear and brought to us for consideration in our new meeting.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further questions or comments?
Yes, I'd like to urge Arts Fulshear. I know you're a worthwhile organization. We have already trusted you with a $5,000 grant to administer. We want to see you grow, but we also want to see you give back to the community. So if you can, in the memorandum of agreement, maybe allot a certain percentage to go to the underprivileged or somebody who can afford, I really strongly encourage you and urge you to do that.
Can I respond?
Yes, please.
We're actually aiming for that. We've had problems with transportation. And actually, we're talking to Dee about this. And my program director is getting a letter to her, and she's going to take it to all the churches in the area so that we can try to ramp up we do have a scholarship program. All someone has to do is email us and say, I need a scholarship when we provide it. But there's an issue of how do they get to the classes. Then a lot of children who need scholarships don't have a way home from school late or whatever the issue is. So we're working through those issues. One of the things we've asked for in the schedule that I presented is a drama club, which will be free. And Nicola Parrish, our theater director, wants to run it as sort of a service club. And she wants them to do service hours as well as drama exercises, write a performance, put together a performance, and she's offered to do service on the Irene Stern Center as part of
as what they do for their service. So we are very aware we're a nonprofit. We're always looking to serve the community. So yes, I'm trying. I'm getting there.
Transportation issue's been going on for years.
Absolutely. You know, it's just hard unless you have your own vehicle to pick them up and take them.
I had 2 questions for you.
Yes, ma'am.
So it says Monday through Friday, 2 to 5. So is this year-round, this agreement?
Here's what I asked for in the last, if I may, in the last email tonight. We don't really want to be locked into these are the hours. We will absolutely always use the Stern Center, no other hours and no fewer hours. What we really like to do is operate the same way that we operate with the two districts. Right now, we're doing our lessons out of Cross Creek Ranch, out of Randolph and Briscoe. We use sometimes, and out of Huggins. Sorry, it's late and I can't even remember the names of these schools. So the way we do it, at the beginning of the semester, we submit a request because our classes run 6 and 8 weeks, and we have 2 a semester. So we submit a request and we say, okay, on Wednesdays from whatever, 3 to 4:30, we'd like this class for this 6 weeks and this 6 weeks. And they either accept or refuse our request. And this is the way we'd like to do it with the city. We've already scheduled the summer camps with Dee. There's no conflicts. We were doing it whether the agreement went through or not. This is kind of the way we'd like to operate if we could, rather than try to put together our entire schedule a year in advance with no flexibility on your part or our part. We'd like there to be some give and take on both sides. The KISD has a fee schedule posted on their website, and Lamar is going to this thanks to the efforts of Melissa Roberts, because they were charging us a ridiculous amount of money. So they're going to according to the guy who handles facilities, they're going to a similar schedule, and they call it cost recovery. And it differs based on the type of facility you use. Like if you use the football field, it costs more than the gym. And if you use a classroom, it's only $5 an hour. And they're literally recovering their cost of, I'm sure, utilities. So, did that answer that question?
That did answer that question. So what have y'all considered? And also, who would take on the task of doing the coordination with our expulsion?
Good question.
On the spot.
An individual to be named, an individual to be named, maybe me.
CJ's not here tonight. He gets to do it.
So I can't be named tonight.
You can be the first expulsion volunteer.
There you go.
I think a lot of the coordination, just scheduling and stuff, has happened through Dee's office. So we would have to figure that out with, he just finally did get some help, it looks like.
You get my vote, Mike.
And I would say that I think that's a good idea. I mean, knowing the classes, I don't think they could fit, obviously, when kids are in school at this time. And then I have one more question. So y'all do a lot of the end of season performances. Would those take place at Irene Stern with the public as well?
Ideally, ideally we want our performances at some place like Briscoe that actually has a stage, or at the new junior high once we're able to get in there. Because while Stern is, we like the idea of having a semi-permanent place for a while until Mr. Kanaka figures something else out for us. But until then, we like the idea of all our classes are going to be in this one place, right? Except for the after-school ones. But performances are just better when you have lights and sound and the whole seats and the whole deal. So, no, not exactly. We would like community theater to rehearse there, though. Whether they actually want to hold the performances there or not, I don't know. And that would be, since it's so hard to get actors, once a year, maybe. So that's another reason I couldn't provide an exact schedule for that. Because we don't know when that can be.
That's all my questions. Thank you.
Any further questions or comments? All right. Thank you, Marcia, for being here, and looks like hopefully we'll get it across the finish line for you.
Thank you guys for considering that, and Mike for working with me.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Brady, can we take on the agenda, items N through Q together. They're all the Development Corporation projects and then the application for the economic development.
All at once?
Could we take them all at once or shortly?
You take them all.
Council has no objections. I'd like to take N, O, P, and Q together. Item N is consideration of and possible action on resolution number 2016-303, a resolution of the City of Fulshear authorizing the project and the City of Fulshear Development Corporation, a Type A Economic Development Sales Tax Corporation. O, consideration of and possible action on resolution number 2016-304, a resolution of the City of Fulshear authorizing a project of the Fulshear Development Corporation, a Type B Economic Development Sales Tax Corporation. P, consideration of and possible action on resolution number 2016-305, a resolution of the City of Fulshear authorizing and approving a loan agreement between the City of Fulshear Development Corporation and the Office of the Governor Economic Development and Tourism Division and related documents authorizing the execution and delivery of the loan agreement and other matters in connection therewith. And Q, consideration of and possible action on resolution number 2016-306, a resolution of the City of Fulshear authorizing and approving a loan agreement between the Fulshear Development Corporation and the Office of the Governor's Economic Development and Tourism Division and related documents authorizing the execution and delivery of the loan agreement and other matters in connection therewith.
Mayor, I make a motion to approve Resolution 2016-303, Resolution 2016-304, Resolution 2016-305, and Resolution 2016-306.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries.
Mayor, based on executive session, I'd also like to make a motion authorizing the non-binding letter of intent to proceed to enter into with Mr. Jeffrey Duke. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Item R is consideration and possible action to approve ordinance number 2016-1214. That's ordinance 2016-1214, an ordinance of the City of Fulshear approving a strategic partnership agreement between the City of Fulshear and Waller County RID number 1. That's what we had our public hearings on earlier today. We've been working with Rooms to Go, drafting another agreement. We did that last year with Waller County RID number 1. We were able to actually strengthen the sales tax split with Rooms to Go, and you can see that in your packet.
So moved.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Item S is discussion and update on the employee handbook requested by Council Member Miller.
Just an update to City Council. We have we're blessed to have Paula here for a period of time as our HR director. She did take what was in several places and bring into one document as a draft handbook, and we have sent that to legal and authorized them to begin that review. Susan Bickley's firm. She is an employment law specialist, and she is taking a look at that for us and estimates wrapping that up probably by the end of this month. So we should have that back and available for council to consider in May.
I just like to thank you, Mr. Ross. I know that when I first got to the city, it had a 1984 HR policy. So I worked really hard to try to work with CJ to make sure that you use the best experts, which obviously you were chosen, hire an HR director to move that forward. Meantime, we had several EOC complaints and some other high turnover, so I'm hoping that the new policy helps protect the city. Additionally, I want to urge the incoming council members to work with the legal team and HR director, which hopefully we'll hire, to draft and implement the policy, additional to perform a performance review, which long overdue. I think the last one was 2015.
And that is one other point I meant to make, is that we will be advertising this week for the HR position. And again, thank you.
Any comments or questions on the employee handbook? Okay. Item T is discussion and update on water and wastewater operator request for qualifications proposals requested by Councilmember Messick.
Another update, we have, council did authorize the request for qualifications. We spoke with legal and they concurred that we could combine a request for qualifications and proposal all into one package so that we can compare not only just qualifications but price as well, which I think gives the city a better advantage in being able to do that. And we have that draft complete. That was a new format from the last time because last time it was purely a qualification request. So we had to kind of start over and find some other cities that had done the combination of the two. We have that draft complete and anticipate getting that advertised next week.
Thank you for streamlining that process and making it easier for us to consider both qualifications and price at the same time. Council appreciates that.
So another comment on that, since I asked to be added to each other. Based on the continued issues that I've been hearing from the residents with our current water and wastewater treatments provider since late 2015, we have already voted to issue the RFQ/RFP, so thank you for getting us moving on that. I think CJ Snipes conducted a survey to poll the residents on the water quality, various aspects of customer service satisfaction and billing. So according to the results, which unfortunately CJ wasn't able to provide by tonight, I really wanted the public to see it and the council to see it, so I hope we get to see it later. Most were pretty negative comments, and necessary to change was desired by residents. But so since 2014, I worked hard to get these efforts to enhance our water and wastewater situation, and I would like to urge the future city council members to take that on and to take this very serious, because that is the future of Fulshear.
Any further questions or comments on the water wastewater RFQ? Thank you, Councilmember Messick. Item U is discussion of council ethics and conflicts of interest policy requested by Councilmember Messick.
Thank you, Mayor. Since becoming a council member, it has been obvious that certain individuals have not filed out conflict of interest forms, even though they make recommendations to the council on the contracts. What is the current policy on ethics and conflicts of interest while serving in the city of Fulshear, making decisions on contracts? So I'd like that question to Grady. And to my knowledge, and to protect the city, the state recommendation is not enough. But maybe you can enlighten me. So one more sentence and I'll turn it over to you. Whoever has a conflict of interest with the city, whether it be with construction projects, by an engineering firm, or roads, because they are part of a land that is being developed into a road, the people need to know if there's a conflict. As elected officials, we are held to a higher standard. As the state ethics board says, when one in doubt, fill it out. Because recuse yourself from a vote when it comes to voting or these issues come about, or when you're recommending to affirm to the council.
Okay.
So the question is, what conflict of interest ethics policy are we bound to right now?
You are bound what the state law has. As far as I know, the council has never acted on a decorum ordinance that had some ethics policies in it. So there are none locally, would be what is there by state law. A conflict is when you vote yourself money or your family money. If you're not on, if you can't vote yourself money, it's not a conflict of interest, according to state law.
I think that we did bring up a council decorum policy, I think, in the last year. And so that would be something I think that the new council should consider, whoever that may be. Any further questions or comments on that? Item B, discussion of legal fees requested by Councilmember Messick.
I think the council has a packet that might have been distributed by the administration. Does anybody have something?
I think you may have emailed something today.
Christy, is this what you printed out and gave us tonight?
Everything's printed out and on the calendar.
So if I may, Mayor, fees that we continue incurring from our current law firm, 2 to 3 times as high as city of our population should be paying. After I started researching with other cities and reviewing the HASC survey, and CJ presented to us in the budget meeting in 2015, it seems that the reported average spent for legal teams in cities of similar size are about $124,000, way under the amount we spent in last year. I'd like to ask that our future council members curb the spending, or help curb the spending in the upcoming budget season to a more reasonable level, because this is the money that our taxpayer entrusts us with, and we want to spend it wisely. For $380,000 a year, we could be hiring 1 or 2 in-house attorneys to help us with legal issues and outsource the expert help when needed. Thank you.
I think
The background information is just the information you can read through the conference.
yeah, I think the next council will have its challenges looking at for those costs. I think it'll be important for that body to really come together at the very beginning of their terms and set priorities. That way we don't go off down too many different paths and need all of that extra legal advice. So thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Mayor,
I needed to ask if there was any other items from
Mayor, based on our executive session, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the city to move forward with a funding agreement as drafted by the city attorney, and also authorized a $100,000 contribution towards the Legacy 3 project.
Do I have a second? Motion's been made and seconded. Any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Item 12 is adjourned. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? We're adjourned at 10:21.